Keep all limbs inside the ride at all times because 2026 is going to be quite the experience.
You are Locked On Commanders, your daily podcast on the Washington Commanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome inside today's episode of Locked On Commanders. I am your host, your guy on the ground, David Harrison. And on today's episode, you know what we're talking about, Washington Commanders 2026 NFL schedule. Let's get right into it. Week 1, Week 2 on the road. The Washington Commanders opening up the season September 13th at the Link. Philadelphia Eagles on the road. That is how we're going to start things off in 2026. And if that wasn't hard enough, September 20th at Dallas. Week 2, back-to-back weeks on the road. This kind of became hit the radar as a possibility as we got closer to the schedule release time. And here it is. I had hoped, as you heard on this program, I had hoped at Arizona would be the kickoff. Want to get that West Coast trip out of the way. That is not going to happen. Instead, you're getting 2 divisional matchups out of the way. You're getting them both on the road as well. And really, as the possibility of not having the bye week in week 5 became a reality, it really started to look like you might have to start 2 weeks on the road, because that way you're not getting 4 or 5 out of your first 6 games at home and just leaving yourself with a road schedule that is just torturous down the back half of the season. That's exactly what's happening. So at Philly, short trip up the road to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania for that first game, and then at Dallas, huge divisional game, of course, as always. Back home September 27th versus the defending Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks. And then it's off to London, week 4, October 4th, Indianapolis Colts. No bye week in week 5. We've been talking about this. Traditionally, teams coming back from an international trip, they get that bye week. But the Washington Commanders, whether it's by request, whether it's by design, I don't know at this time. But whatever it is, no week 5 bye for the Washington Commanders. Instead, October 11th, New York Giants coming to town. So the Washington Commanders 3 straight road home games after having 2 straight road games. But of course, we all know that Indianapolis game, not a true customary, I should say, home game there in London facing the Indianapolis Colts. And then after that Giants home game, October 19th at San Francisco, first primetime game of the year, Monday Night Football in San Francisco. Washington Commanders, it's going to be interesting. Brandon Ayuk, maybe a revenge game for Brandon Ayuk. I don't know. We'll have to see how that goes. And that leads into the week 7 bye week after that San Francisco 49ers game. Week 7 bye. Not the most optimal time for a bye week. Usually teams like to take their bye week like week 9, week 10, if they can get it there. But week 7 certainly a lot better, I think, than week 5. Jeremy Reeves, if you follow him on X, was tweeting out, please don't let us have a week 5 bye like he didn't already know. But if you didn't know, he knows now. Jeremy Reeves and the Washington Commanders not getting that week 5 bye. Instead, they get the week 7 bye. I do like that it comes after that San Francisco trip. I think that's beneficial. So you come back from the West Coast, you don't have to get right into game prep. You get a little bit of time off, and then you're home in week 8. The Philadelphia Phillies, for some reason, what I'm about to say, the Philadelphia Eagles coming to town November 1st, Sunday Night Football, second primetime game on the schedule, second primetime game in a row on the schedule, of course, broken up by the bye week. And then a week later, the Los Angeles Rams are in town to play the Washington Commanders. Week 10, November 12th, getting into the middle of the schedule, or the middle of the month of November in New York for the New York Giants. Thursday Night Football. So you're coming off that Rams game, short week in New Jersey for Thursday Night Football, then back home against the Cincinnati Bengals. Monday Night Football, the team that it all started with Jayden Daniels. Monday Night Football against the Bengals. You're getting that this time in Northwest Stadium. Love that game. But then you have a little bit of a short week now. You're going to Arizona coming off of Monday Night Football, and you're going to face the Arizona Cardinals November 29th, week 12 of the NFL season. Come back from Arizona. You're not going home. Instead, you're going to Tennessee. It's a little bit of a shorter road trip, so that makes it a little bit better, but you're going to Tennessee week 13, December 6th. December 13th, back home for the Houston Texans. December 15th, or week 15, December 20th, also back home for the Atlanta Falcons before you get 2 road trips and then one final home game at Minnesota, December 26th, in Jacksonville for January 2nd. So you're going to ring in the new year with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then you have at home against the Dallas Cowboys in week 18 to finish off the 2026 NFL schedule. Listen, we knew we've talked about every day as you've been here. We've talked about this. The Washington Commanders have one of the 10 hardest schedules in the National Football League this season. But even armed with that knowledge, sitting down, really looking at this once I received it, and looking at the way this thing lays out, man, this is tough. I wrote an article for WUSA9.com. That should be up right now if you want to go read about that. But talking about in that article about how, this team is obviously trying to get back on that 2024 track, trying to get healthy, get Jayden Daniels back. They have some new weapons. They've got some new schemes, all these types of things. But this schedule is not going to do them any favors. Good news is if the Washington Commanders can get back to even a semblance of that 2024 success, doing it against this schedule is going to make it a lot more validating, a lot more, as far as like confidence for the future that can be maintained, that you can take a little bit more from that. But I will say this, no screwing over by the NFL, no hatred of the Washington Commanders by the league. Like, this is just a draw that the Washington Commanders had as far as the layout of the game. I mean, listen, we're going to talk about toughest stretches. We're going to talk about, easiest stretches, all those types of things. But really, at the end of the day, even if you look at the toughest stretch on this schedule, which we all might have our different opinions of where that toughest stretch is, but when we look at these toughest stretches of the schedule, you take one of those teams out and you rotate them down with another team. Like, it might make that first, stretch a little bit easier, but it makes that other stretch a lot harder, and it really doesn't break it up necessarily any way you want. And I look at the first 4 games of the season. These are the tone-setting games. Now, they're not the most critical games in the world. You have time to make up for any losses, things like that. You certainly don't want to get out the gates 0-4. I think every team in the first 4 would love to play to at least a 2-2 record, if not a 3-1 record. You love to have a 4-0 record, obviously. And when you look at new offensive coordinator David Blough, new defensive coordinator Daronte Jones, and Dan Quinn, obviously the head coach of this team, this first 4-game stretch is incredibly difficult. You got 2 champions, first of all, in the mix here. At Philadelphia Eagles, the NFC East Division champions, 2 years running, Super Bowl champion just a couple years ago. And you got the Seattle Seahawks at home September 27th, 14 days after that game, Super Bowl champions coming off trying to defend their title, of course. And then, of course, they came into Washington last year, and, that didn't go so well on many different levels, not just the loss, but also the re-injury or the injury to quarterback Jayden Daniels. And in between that, you got on the road to Dallas. We always know that's a tough game going into Jerry's world for the Dallas Cowboys. And you got the Indianapolis Colts week 4 in London. And that's 4 teams, 2 of them already playoff teams, right? The Eagles and the Seahawks, clearly postseason teams, playoff teams, things like that. But people are looking at the Dallas Cowboys to contend for postseason play this year. They're looking at the Indianapolis Colts if Daniel Jones can get and stay healthy and to take another step as being, playoff contenders. That's 4 teams, 4 games right off the bat against playoff contenders. Is that the hardest stretch on this schedule? I'll let you know what I think the hardest stretch is coming up here pretty soon. But next up, we're going to break the schedule down even more. Look at the times that are being played, primetime games, exclusive share of NFL audiences. It might be a little bit surprising of how many games they still have in those premium time slots, and it just shows you what the league thinks of the Washington Commanders in 2026. That and more coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode of Locked On Commanders is brought to you in part by Kalshi. Kalshi is how it's pronounced. The 2026 NFL schedule release is here, and now you can trade every game on Kalshi. Schedule release always sparks debates. Who's overrated? Who's got a brutal stretch? And which teams are actually playoff contenders? Kalshi lets you trade on those predictions in a live market, from total wins to playoff chances and championship futures. On Kalshi, you can trade on real NFL questions like whether a team makes the playoffs or reaches a certain win total. As the season outlook changes, you can buy in or out of your position live, and it's available in all 50 states, so it's easy to jump in and follow along all season long. For example, if you think a team schedule is set up perfectly for a playoff run, you can actually trade on that prediction. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house, and as the probabilities change, you can buy in and out of your position. Trade the draft pick, the game, and more on Kalshi. Kalshi, for a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use the code LOCKEDON to get $10 when you trade 10. Kalshi. Kalshi. Trade on anything. Looking at the number of primetime and exclusive NFL audience games the Washington Commanders have, I came away just a little bit surprised of how many they have. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Locked On Commanders, NFL schedule release special. And of course, to the everydayers coming through for yet another episode, I appreciate you doing so. today. If you haven't already checked out the Everydayer Club, please do so. I spent all day Thursday, even a little bit Wednesday, texting my all access members of the Everydayer Club, letting you know what leaks I was hearing, let you know what I was confident in, what I wasn't confident in. And ultimately, when I thought I had the whole thing figured out, I sent a text out and said, hey, this is what I think we're going to look at. This is what I think we're going to see in that Washington Commanders schedule. All the all access Everydayer Club members got that to their cell phone directly. No searching, no scanning, no Googling. It's a lot of fun for me, and they seem to appreciate it and like it as well. So again, lockedoncommanders.supercast.com to check that out today. But for now, let's get deeper into this Washington Commanders schedule. Again, everything breaking down, everything looking nice and hectic a little bit. I don't know if hectic is the right way to put it, but it's not an easy road to follow here with the Washington Commanders in 2026. 3 games on this schedule we don't know the times for, right? Week 16, 17, and 18. That's at Minnesota on December 26th. We don't know the time. January 2nd against the Jacksonville Jaguars. We don't know the time. That's again on the road. Week 18 against the Dallas Cowboys. That could be Saturday or Sunday. And of course, it's going to depend on playoff scenarios and all that kind of stuff. So the date and the time for that game could be the 9th, could be the 8th or the 9th, I think is the way that it works out there, January 8th or 9th. So those 3 games, we don't know as of right now the times. We don't know the play, or we know the places. We don't know the times, and we don't know the dates of some of them. So really, we're talking about 15 games or 15 weeks, 14 games. So 14 games. Out of those 14 games that we already have the times for, the Washington Commanders have 4 primetime games. And what I think is really interesting about this schedule is those 4 primetime games come in a 5-game stretch, 6-week stretch if you include the bye week. It's week 6, October 19th at San Francisco for Monday Night Football. You know, obviously you're hoping Brock Purdy against Jayden Daniels. You're hoping David Blough against the San Francisco 49ers defense. I don't know who their defense coordinator is now. I apologize. But obviously David Blough's offensive flavor expected to come from Ben Johnson, a little bit of Kevin O'Connell. Like there's a little bit of Shanahan tree mixture, cross-pollination going on in there. So it'll be interesting to see how that whole thing works. And of course, by the time week 6 comes around, look, I don't know if or when. Well, I'm pretty sure if is going to happen when Brandon Ayuk joins the Washington Commanders. If he can possibly be healthy and ready to play for week 6 against San Francisco 49ers, you can be darn tooting that he's going to want to do that. And he's not the only former 49er player on this roster that I imagine is looking at that game with a big old Sharpie circle around it. I'll let you figure out who I'm talking about there. Week 7, of course, is the bye week, but then you come back from that bye week and you're back home. Philadelphia Eagles come into town. Sunday night football inside Northwest Stadium. You have the Rams breaking up that, and then you got Thursday night football and then another Monday night football game. So you got primetime gap, and then boom, 2 primetime games. And really, it just kind of shows you the fact that the Washington Commanders even have 4 primetime games on the schedule still shows you the NFL believes in what a lot of people talked about during the course of the season, even during the course of the offseason a little bit, that injury significantly derailed this team. They still believe this is a quality team because it's not just the fact they have this many primetime games. Look at the window, like I said, from October 19th to November 23rd. So in a month and 4 days, the Washington Commanders are going to be part of the exclusive NFL watching audience 4 times in a week, in a month and 4 days. That's not a lot of time. The NFL is pushing the Washington Commanders in this window and basically saying, listen, this is going to matter. Now, they are facing some really good teams, the San Francisco 49ers, Philadelphia Eagles in the first 2, obviously. So if, and we knock on wood that things aren't getting derailed or injuries aren't, besieging this team again, if that's the case, you still have 2 premium teams that are going to expect to be competing for postseason play, championships, all that kind of stuff. The New York Giants, I mean, that Thursday night game, we've seen some woofers, right? We've seen some stinkers on Thursday night football. If the Giants don't deliver on a lot of the hope that a lot of people had that they're going to be better this year, and the Commanders don't deliver on the hope that maybe they're going to have a bounce back season, that Thursday night game, Commanders at Giants, I mean, let's just be real. It could be nasty and not in a good way. But then you have the Cincinnati Bengals coming back in. The Cincinnati Bengals are another team always high flying on offense. People think that defense is going to be a little bit better on paper. So if that can be a competitive game, the NFL, but bottom line is the NFL is putting a lot of clout and a lot of money behind the Washington Commanders being on those 4 primetime games as far as the way that I see it. Because again, you have a lot of exposure for a team that only had 5 wins. And I don't know everybody else's schedule at this time. I haven't taken time to break it all down and all that stuff, but I would imagine there's not a lot of teams that were picking in the top 10 who are also being featured in primetime games. in 4 games of a 6-week stretch. I just find that pretty hard to believe. So it stood out to me. And then you also have 3 4:25 p.m. games on the Washington Commanders schedule. Week 1, September 13th in Philadelphia. That's a 4:25 p.m. Eastern time kickoff time. Also, week 2, September 20th in Dallas. That's a 4:25 p.m. kickoff time. And then you go all the way to week 12, 10 weeks later, November 29th in Arizona, 1:25 p.m. kickoff game in Arizona, which is, of course, a 4:25 p.m. kickoff time in the East Coast. So, again, 4:25 p.m. games, 3 of them on the schedule. And, of course, you got one 9:30 a.m. Eastern time kickoff, that game being in London. So, if you put it all together, you got 4 primetime games. You got 5 games with exclusive NFL audiences. You got 8 games with half of the NFL audience or more total. So, I mean, you're still looking at roughly half of the Washington Commanders schedule is going to be in front of exclusive NFL audiences or 1/2 share of the NFL audiences or in prime time. That's a lot. Like, you know, if you remember Everydayers, when we did our little, I don't call it a season projection, but we kind of did like an optimizing. I mentioned 3 primetime games. I was 1 shy of that. So in the ballpark there, but I also I thought no more than 5 or 6 games where the Washington Commanders were kind of featured in that. And of course, we already knew the London game was coming. So there's 1 automatically, 3 primetime games. You're already at 4. So really, I felt like I was probably not going to be off by more than 1, maybe 2 of those games. And here we are, the Washington Commanders with 8 games in front of at least half of the NFL audience or more. Which game am I most excited to potentially go see? Like I get this question all the time. So I wanted to answer it here on our schedule release episode. Obviously, you know, look, it's a perk of the job. I get, you know, season tickets and I get the full package. I get road games too. So that's a perk of the job. But if I had to go to game time and I had to buy my tickets, which, you know, have to buy tickets to a lot of other things, which game would I most want to see? I mean, Indianapolis kind of has that easy button feel to it, right? Obviously, it's London. I'm looking forward to going to London for maybe a week. I don't know, you know, how early the Commanders are going to travel out there as of right now, but however much time we get, hopefully we're there at least Saturday. So I get Saturday to kind of roam around the city, you know, get some fish and chips and do that kind of stuff and see the things. I think the game that I'm most looking forward to seeing in person, I think it's split. I mean, it's split to me between Cincinnati Monday Night Football, November 23rd in Northwest Stadium, and October 19th in San Francisco Monday Night Football. Just because, one, I've never been to San Francisco. I've never been to the 49ers Stadium, so that'll be a block check. Football under the lights is always cool. Like, listen, as a media member, I'll be honest with you guys, like those games end, and granted, I'll be on the West Coast, so it'll be earlier than usual, but like primetime games, whenever they end, tack on about 3 hours of work. And I'm not trying to, you know, like I need no sympathy. I got it. My job is to cover football. I'm not woe is me here. But just to give you a picture here, my day ends about 3 to 4 hours after that game is over. So a primetime game, like just like I get home at like 2, I think I get home at like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I get out of the stadium usually by like 2 a.m. So if it's a home game, I'm getting home at about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Like it is a grind. I will just tell you that right now. But we can't deny that football under the lights is just better. The San Francisco 49ers game, like I said, you have the potential for the Brandon Ayuk the whole thing. You've got obviously a playoff contender. It's an early enough game that like this could be one of those moments where it's like, okay, are the Commanders for real? We'll see how they come out of the first 5 games first, right? But if they come out of the first 5 games 3-2, you know, 4-1, then this is kind of like a are they for real type of team game. I mean, that's gonna be exciting. Then Cincinnati, I mean, again, you go back to Jayden Daniels' rookie year. That's kind of the game that was like his coming out party. And with week 11, it could be the same coming out party. Not coming out party again, but like if things are going well and then come in to Monday Night Football against the Cincinnati Bengals, take care of business, that's going to be where we really kind of start to solidify that the Commanders are back and that they're back on that track. So that is, however, one part of the conversation. Toughest stretch, easiest stretch. I put that in quotations because this is the NFL, man. Nothing's really super easy, but toughest stretch, easiest stretch as we wrap up our schedule release conversation here on Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And this schedule release episode is brought to you in part by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are here. Every possession matters. And if you're looking to get even closer to the action, FanDuel has got a great offer to get you started. Right now, new customers of FanDuel, you bet $5, you get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. That's right, turn $5 into 150 in bonus bets just for getting started. I like to use FanDuel during the playoffs, really throughout the entire season, because everything I need is right there in one place. I can track the stats, I can track the trends, I can track the matchups before I make the pick, during the game, live, all kinds of stuff. You can look at player props, follow your favorite stars, build your same game parlays, which I love to do. It's really an easy way to get involved, and it's an easy app, even better, to navigate the user interface. User interface, right? UI is incredibly easy and user friendly. So you can head over to the website, head over to the app, look up the odds, see what you think is going to happen, and get into the action. So again, you new users, you bet $5 and you get $150 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. Today's episode is also brought to you in part by Rocket Money. If you've ever opened your bank account and thought, where did all my money go? You're not alone. Keeping track of subscriptions, spending, and bills, it can all get overwhelming really fast, and that's where Rocket Money comes in. It helps you take control of all your finances all in one place. It'll track your subscriptions in one spot and can help you cancel the ones you don't need or the duplicates you didn't know you had, all with just a few taps. It automatically categorizes your spending so you can actually see where your money is going, and you can set budgets, get alerts, stay on top of your bills. It just makes everything more organized, and it gives you a cleaner picture of your finances day to day. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spendings, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster, and do that by going to rocketmoney.com/locked-on to sign up today. Again, that's rocketmoney.com/locked-on. Wrapping up this schedule release episode of Locked On Commanders. Thank you to the Everydayers for coming through every single day. And thank all of you for heading to WSA9.com to check out my written work covering your Washington Commanders as well. I've got a schedule release written story up on that website as well. Everydayers, All Access Club, Everydayer Club members, you'll be getting a newsletter as well. So you got 3 different ways. I got a fancy schmancy short video coming up on YouTube, little vertical video that'll go on social media, all kinds of stuff. Just tons and tons of ways for you to get involved with the coverage here. The toughest stretch of the schedule. Now we're still right after the release, right? But I think week 1 through 4, man. I think week 1 through 4 at Philly, at Dallas, at home against the Super Bowl champs, and then at home, quote unquote, in London against the Indianapolis Colts. I think that's the toughest stretch. What's the easiest stretch? And again, we always put this in air quotes, easiest stretch. I almost went with week 10 to week 13. And when I say stretch, I basically go 4 games. That's kind of how I look at this. Week 10 to week 13 is almost where I went. You got at Giants, Thursday Night Football, home against Cincinnati, Monday Night Football, at Arizona, at Tennessee. The reason I put that there is Giants, until they're not, they're still in the basement of the NFC East. Now, again, that could always change, but until they're not, they are. Cincinnati Bengals have been an underwhelming, underachieving team for years now. So there's that. Arizona still looks to be a team that is, at least a year or 2 away. The Tennessee Titans still look to be a team that are still a year or 2 away. But then I looked at it again. New York Giants, look, division games, those are always tough. I don't care what happens. Those are always tough. The Bengals, listen, they've been kind of close to figuring it out. I don't know. Their defense on paper is a little bit better. So I actually shifted it down 2 weeks, week 12 through 15. I think right off the bat, that's kind of my look at it. At Arizona, which is not an easy trip, don't get me wrong, but at Arizona in week 12, back for at Tennessee. Again, like I said, the Arizona Cardinals don't have a franchise quarterback. The Tennessee Titans believe they have a franchise quarterback, but they have a lot of other pieces they need to get solved, figured out. The offense in Tennessee is run by Brian Daboll now. The Washington Commanders know Brian Daboll pretty well, so there's a little bit of an advantage there. Week 14 against Houston at home. The Houston Texans are a team, listen, their defense is legit. But the Houston Texans are a team overall that's kind of plateaued recently. Now we'll see what kind of step they take in 2026. But as of right now, they look like a team that's plateaued. And then they have the Atlanta Falcons. And look, even without Jayden Daniels last year, this team should have beat the Atlanta Falcons. I'm just going to say it. I know they didn't. They gave the game away. It is what it is. They still lost the game, but I think they should have handled the Atlanta Falcons. I think they still can handle the Atlanta Falcons. So I look at that 4-game stretch, and the crucial thing about that 4-game stretch is you're talking about the last game in November and the first 3 games of December football. That is an incredibly critical stretch for any National Football League team. And if the Washington Commanders are healthy and they're competitive, you're going to enter the last game in November as a playoff contender looking to solidify your status. And so that's actually pretty good timing. If they can survive the initial climb we're going to use a roller coaster euphemism here, the initial climb, the initial descent into the NFL season and all that kind of stuff, that could be a period where we see them put a little bit of gap between them and the other playoff contenders. And I love ending the season with the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, I'll tell you right, I don't hate the New Year's trip either to Jacksonville, where the average temperature is around 65 degrees in early January, and it's generally dry there during that time of year. So I don't hate that either. Next time on Locked On Commanders, we'll dive deeper into the schedule as well, look at some of the storylines and all that kind of stuff. But I appreciate you coming back for that episode, coming through for this episode. And in between any episodes, if you need to find me, you can do so on X at DHarrison82, on Instagram at DHarrison_82, or you can just text me. I'm going to text you if you're an all-access member of the Everydayer Club. LockedOnCommanders.supercast.com to check that out today. To those Everydayers who come through every single day, I appreciate you for coming through yet again today. And to everybody, thank you for coming through. Thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. And until we meet again, please, if you're out and about, be safe, be kind, and we'll talk again real soon right here on Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On podcast network, your team every day.